Are there extreme vegans? Or who are these extreme vegans? Does veganism promote extremism? Or do you have to be an extremist to be vegan?
Down, yeah. I've been feeling so down, yeah. Can you tell me why? Can you tell me why I'm down, yeah? No friends of mine around, yeah. Now I'm thinking might have caught the June blues, yeah. I wanna drown myself inside the juice, yeah. You know I keep on running from the truth.
Anyway, I'm back.
And I'm just a lonely fucking you. Now when I drive around,
Okay, let's make granola.
why it's getting colder when the sun come out. Might just waste away, don't know what life about. Another day go by, don't know what got me down. June blues, yeah, I got the June blues, yeah. Walk around like who you, yeah. There's something you get used to, yeah. Go back to June blues, yeah. It's just the June blues, yeah. Walk around like who you, yeah. Just something you get used to. Breaking news got me breaking. I was present, hopeless, praying. Struck down at 20, plenty left to put behind you. You ain't peaked, devil's speaking, now they speaking about you, leave it alone. Hope you grinning while you watch your bros on some soulful sunny shit to brighten up a wounded soul. Honest, you the penny, pick it up like Chevy, new age Machiavelli, disagree, don't tell me, now you in infinity, we 98, just that he be good. On the ball like BB, don't make no mistakes, got the faith, the 18 just not gonna be the same. Finna bleed down generations, not gonna be in vain. Why you gotta go, I just wanna know now, now. Crying getting old, hope you freed your soul, I might have caught the dream.
Anyway, so while eating my breakfast, I'm gonna explain to you how I answered my friend who was interested in what if obese ang person tapos vegan siya? Like, how do you feel about it? And the follow-up question was, wouldn't it be counterproductive if someone is vegan pero obese, like overweight? Two things ang atong gitanawon diri. So let's dissect. When we say obese, that's obviously a complex medical condition. But of course, mo play in ang nurture versus nature because dili man pod ingon nga ang cause lang sa obesity is sa ilahang eating habits. It can also be their genetics, and science have been proven this many times before. So when we say someone is obese and they would choose to go vegan, well, good for them because that means that mas mo lower ang ilang risk sa complexity sa obesity. I'm not sure if you guys have already seen the documentary What the Health, but it was explained there. I'll link it down below in the description box. It was explained there that many diabetic, obese, and people who had heart diseases, tanan like mga complicated nga medical condition, were treated with a vegan diet. And in fairness, daghan og chances nga mas nag-improve ang ilang health to the point where they no longer exhibit the symptoms of their diseases. At the same time, naka-help with sa ilang mental health and eventually gyud kay na-decrease ang ilang risk for chances of death and like prolonged suffering from their condition. And in fairness sa gyud, actually halos tanan mga vegans chose to go vegan because of health. I don't have all the statistics, but halos tanan mga members sa Manila Vegans group, it's a Facebook group, a lot of us have said nga the first reason why we jumped into veganism is because of our health concern, and I'm one of them, and dili na siya ma-deny. And in fairness sa Diyos, dako siya impact sa overall health. And eventually, when we still like search about this term, daghan og information nga dako man siya impact not just on health but eventually put sa imong environment and the economic, socio-economic nga status sa imong country or sa imong society, and eventually sa gyud kay murag it went beyond the health na concern. So when we say veganism and good, again, the basic principle to explain further why kanang it doesn't make sense na imong i-attack someone who has a complication such as obesity. Dili na siya exactly like ma-demoralize a person in their advocacy to go vegan when they're obese, because when we say veganism, it's not only about what you put in your body, it's also how you consume, and not just on the food but also on the things that you invest on. When you live in a highly urbanized city, or when your home it's a modern home, all those things. So when we say obesity, again, the basic principle man gid is veganism is a practice of avoiding exploitation of animals as possible and practicable. So those two key terms should be remembered when we say manggod na possible, meaning as long as kaya nimo, and practicable as long as kanang ma-practice nimo. Dili ingon nga perfect, kay wala man sige perfect after all. At the end of the day, ikaw man ang kabalo sa imong intention. So no matter what, and no matter where you're located in the country or even around the world, na kay choice, and it doesn't have to be like which is perfectly vegan. Sa imong options that you have, it could be like the lesser evil. But that's just case-to-case basis. If you have the luxury of time and you can make the effort of making a different choice na wala gid kay expectation na ma-practice, you can do it. Because again, imo man ang intention. So I would rather go for people who are imperfect vegans than people who would like push themselves towards the edge and eventually wala sila lang magsuffer sa ilahang choices. So again, this avocado is really good. Anyway, so again, the title dares to ask, are there extreme vegans? Or who are these extreme vegans? Does veganism promote extremism? Or do you have to be an extremist to be vegan? Well, the correct answer is there's no such thing as extremist. No, there's no such thing as extremist vegan. Because I'm not really the gatekeeper of, no one is a gatekeeper of who can be vegan or who couldn't be vegan. But I would lose respect on people who would claim to be vegan when no one's watching. They would still go for exploiting animals or something that could mean like that. And I wouldn't really have any idea at all. So it's basically impossible to judge people. And who are we to judge anyway? We're all humans. Another thing na atong dumdumon po di ay, when we say, is it like, would you tolerate an obese vegan? I wouldn't say no and yes, because for me, when we promote balanced lifestyle, I think the underlying principle is inclusivity and intersectionalism. So that's why in my Instagram profile, I wrote on my bio, I'm an intersectional feminist in progress, because I want to become a voice and I want to speak up for different sections. So when we say different sections, species, race, class, language, culture, ethnicity, gender, age, ability, sexuality, and education. So again, I included this term intersectionality because again, when we say kanang we want to promote equality and justice for everyone, let's not forget that people come in different shapes and sizes. So basically, it would be counterintuitive to say that only slim vegans are the legit vegans. You know what I'm saying? Like, gabi ka kanang hypocrite. I think that's a really harsh term, but for the lack of a better term, let's just use it. Gabi ka hypocrite if we say nga only I can be vegan because I'm making granola from scratch, or I buy my own produce from local farmers. When in fact, dagan kaayo people who can't afford the same privilege or have the same rights because they live in different parts of society. And it would be insensitive to promote such lifestyle without listening to other people's experiences, considering their class, considering their background, and everything that they experience personally. So not everybody has the luxury such as I do. So basically, kana siya, like, there's no judgment whatsoever. Okay, so since we're still under MECQ, it's a heightened quarantine here in Cagayan de Oro, I opted to get my groceries delivered by my friend who was my former co-worker, Mr. Cesar J.R. Pagapulaan. Shout out to you. And yeah, let's clean my veggies. I have here onion, garlic, ginger, broccoli, string beans, ampalaya, or sigano yung English ani, gourd, and tomatoes. Although I do not agree on repackaging the vegetables into smaller plastic bags because that is rather defeating the purpose of eco bags. But I'm just gonna have to reuse the plastic bags because I didn't know. See, this is another dilemma that we are facing as vegans or as environmentalists. Okay, another thing, isa na pod ka topic na gusto na ko i-address is a lot of my friends who are pro saving the environment, saving the oceans, saving wildlife, question or like ask me on say perspective ani sa vegan when we say how can we save the oceans without actually affecting the livelihood of the fishing communities. That is a great question, especially nagbunga ni siya katong time nga nag-trend ang Seaspiracy. Pretty sure you guys have already seen the documentary. I have seen it, and it's actually a hot topic on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook groups, and across all platforms. And it's another rabbit hole that you would want to dive in. But sa kuha, I discussed it with my siblings who are also vegans. There are 4 of us, and I have these 2 really smart brothers, and I turned to them and asked them what they thought. Although we had the same understanding, but I just really wanted their kanang wisdom so that I can explain it simply to my friends because they're smarter than me. Anyway, so again, I asked them, what do you guys think? And my brother told me. So yun siya. The animal farming industry is basically capitalist or profit-oriented. Kapitalista na sila, profit ra na ilang giapas. But small-time fishermen are the exception because it's for sustenance, it's for their own consumption, and wala exactly mass destruction sa oceans. Although, makaingon magyapon ta nga, maski na wala sila mass destruction, they're still sentient beings. Yes, but we can't force them to, like, murag hypocritical na siya nga atong i-force ang atuang way of living when they can't afford to live in the hinterlands or other than fishing. But small-time fishermen in municipal waters barely get incentives and government assistance. So, sila ang impoverished, sila yung pinaka-marginalized, tanan marginalized. So, buying from them serves no purpose. What improves their lives is actually real assistance from the government. So, technically, kung mayroon kag magbay na lang good ko sa mga fishing communities or mga people nga nagsal og seafood because nang ginabuhi naman na sila, but it only serves the consumer and the consumer's ego because consumers bought cheap, meaning ikaw nga nagpalit, igo lang ka nakapalit for a cheaper price. Mas barato yung mga napalit, meaning mas nakasave ka, plus the bonus idea na naka-help ka. So imuhara ang ikaw ra ang nalipay kay nakasave ka o mutawag ka sa imong self na naka-help ka. But naka-afford ba siya ang katong imong gipalitan? Naka-afford ba siya sa iyong basic necessities? We wouldn't know because the prices are still high. It's like giving pennies to mendicant or buying from street peddlers. Siyempre, ang imong ma-think na kanang murag immediate nga possible po niyong mahatag is money, right? But that wouldn't suffice their long-term needs. That wouldn't take them off the situation that they are economically marginalized. So, mendicancy, is that the term? Comment down below if you guys are like, what is Agnes talking about? Am I making sense here? Please So that's the thing. When we say sustainability, it doesn't always mean that these markets, these capitalists are really for the fishing communities, because actually, this is based on our family's experience, okay? Actually, sa akong father's side, relatives namo, mostly from the Nagat Islands. And we spent most of our summer there. Ang balay gid sa abuang relatives, kay nagyud sa kilid sa dagat, and nagyud sila kanang bungsod. I'm not sure if you guys know that if we have the same term for bungsod. Basta bungsod is like kanang fishing pen. All kinds of sea creatures are there. Tapos iladay ng paliton, iladay ng ibaligya sa mga consumers or clients from everywhere. So little did I know, because I was still a kid, and karon na ako nabalan. My brother actually commented on our convo, on our thread, and he said, "Okay, remember ka tong sa una silang uncle kay na sila'y fishing pen, tapos na yung mga lobsters. Abi ba yan ako ano to ka ng for any people lang to." But little did we know that those were actually sent to Hong Kong. So, like, the demand is from there, but it wasn't for sustenance. So, we can't really identify that there are most of the fisher folks are plainly doing fishing for their own sustenance. It's mostly because there is a demand outside the country, or even within the country, within the city. There's a demand because people are conditioned to consume, buy from this economic mess. So, see, that's another rabbit hole over there. So mo to siya, don't fall for the greenwashing term na sustainability. Always go for terms, nobody even uses this, but I would say that ang imuhang i-look out for is the concept that there's inclusivity and intersectionalism. Inclusivity for different types of people and species. So yeah, that's it. Now another question, actually nobody asked this, but actually there are a lot of memes about this, but when non-vegans actually think that it's usually the vegans versus the non-vegans, the truth is the vegans in the vegan groups are fighting against each other. You know why? Because again, veganism is a political movement. So, syempre, when we say politics, that includes our lifestyle, our choices, our principles, and our values. So, especially in the current situation in the Philippines, daghan kaayo areas to actually input how your value can be rippled. For example, when we say, I'm vegan because I want to save the planet, or I want to promote environmentalism and sustainability for the communities at the same time, inclusivity and intersectionalism, and promoting cruelty-free. So, when we say cruelty-free, sige, at the end of it, ang bottom line is non-violence. So, how does that translate in the Philippine setting, in the situation? So, ang gakitabo karon, like these days, there's like a lot. Actually, it's not just these days. It's been happening since long time ago, but mas na-heighten siya karon because since, you know, like 2020 happened and dagan kayo hate crimes, dagan kayo extrajudicial killings, and just so many issues. It's very insensitive to say na you're non-violent, like your value is non-violence, but you tolerate leaders who promote violence, who instigate violence. Very, I wouldn't say hypocritical, but I think that's the only term that we have here in the vocabulary. But anyway, kanalagi like more bitaw, more na cognitive dissonance when we say, I love the animals, but then I will eat lechon. Or, I am for peace, but support ka sa leaders who instigate violence. Ganang gina-push nila na mag-lockdown without the appropriate medical help for the COVID victims, healthcare workers. Like, nga na bitaw. It's a really hot topic. I think it's something that we should never forget, even if it's difficult. You know, like, you know what they say when they say the hardest conversations are healthy, and I think we need to go through that sometime. And even if, like, let's say we have different perspectives or values, it pays off when we get to know other people's perspective, especially at the time we have uncertainties. You know, like, all we want is clarity and peace, like inner peace. So yeah, I think I need to let that out. And last thing na gusto na akong talk about, as a vegan yogi person, how do I deal with non-vegan people in my groups or like in my everyday life? So actually I have a lot of non-vegan friends. I have a lot, like a lot. Even this guy I'm seeing, he is non-vegan, and my friends, my barkada, my coworkers are non-vegans. Like, daghan jud kay kong friends nga na dili vegan or like consume gid sila animals, and even my followers on Instagram and on Facebook, a lot of them are non-vegans. But I think it's basic, you know, like basic lang yun nga etiquette. It's a basic etiquette, I guess, nga kanang, you know, like you respect other people's journey or respect other people's lifestyle, because like, you know, like treat them as you would treat yourself. I remember the first time I heard when my kuya turned vegan, and he wasn't actually forcing his beliefs on me. He was just educating me. He just told me the things that I was unclear about. So the first time that I heard the term and the real meaning of veganism, it was actually on his birthday. Oh yeah, it's been 3 years. I'm a 3-year-old vegan now. Wait long. 2018, 21. Yeah, 3 years. Oh my god, I'm so proud of myself. We should celebrate. It's only 4:30 and I'm craving for a drink. Anyway, as I was saying, when I first learned about veganism, my brother did not force me at all. So I would like to pass it on to my friends or people who are interested, or like, you know, like just random people. If they want to ask about it, I would share it to them. But you know, I wouldn't really like you know, like when wala na ilain mo topic, I would talk about veganism. It's usually the other way around actually. Like daghan kong friends nga kanang maski naghilom-hilom lang ko sa kilid kay they would like, hey, so dili ka of rice? And I'm like, no, I eat a lot of rice. And sometimes would get sila, how about fish or eggs? And like those kinds of questions. And it's very understandable because I myself didn't know that back then. So, you know, it's so like, I know how it feels. So it's not something that I would force to them. Kaya lagi, like, money, isa ni siya sa mga ways, isa ni siya sa mga goals na ko as to vlogging about this lifestyle, this advocacy, because like I want to show them that it can be normalized, that you can live a vegan lifestyle and still live in a modern world, and you know, like not necessarily nga kanang always ka mag-invest on a lot of things that is sustainable. You know what I'm saying? So kana siya, and in fairness said good, daghan manon kong friends nga who would actually support me when they first learned that I was vegan. At first they were like a little bit, huh? Really? Although they did kind of like assume that I can do it because, I don't know, maybe they just saw it in me. But, you know, the point is, they were like, pwede di ay? So they had a lot of questions, and eventually every time we go out me, they would like, go, okay, let's go where Agnes wants. And in fairness po sila, okay, they're very open, and lucky for me, I'm privileged enough to have those kinds of friends, and even the people that I meet, you know, like new friends or new coworkers, they would adjust for me. And even if I wouldn't really ask them to adjust for me, sorry about the noise. And even if even if ako mo offer sa ilahang, sige, pili lang mo kung asa mo gustong kaon. Okay, ako lang mag-adjust. I can find ways and how to, you know, like how to order, or maybe I'll just order anything that is like not a meal. Like mag-hang out lang ko because I wanna spend time with them. And sometimes would like, ang ako po go to nga gabhaton basta nga na nga situations kay I would prepare myself. So I would eat at home before I go out with my friends, and even on trips I would prepare my own food and go with them. because kana lagi di man nato ma-force ang mga people, and di po nato ma-force itong self na mag-starve na lang ko, di na lang ko mukaon for one day because na-egg ang ilang food or na-cheese ang ilang food. I could just, adjust and maybe pod kaya ako silang ingnon nga, like, like request, pwede kuan, walay chicken, or, pwede walay shrimp, or kanang, pwede, nga bitaw. And, let's say, that's life. At the end of the day, if you want to be as inclusive and as effective as a vegan, as an advocate for environment and for the whole planet, it's best if you choose based on what's your intention and based on your values, and that serves your purpose. And at the end of it all, we're just being human beings. We are a divine being having a human experience, and it's always human to make mistakes. So don't be too hard on yourself. Give yourself a break sometimes, and just keep learning. And yeah, I guess that's it. What else is on the list? I guess wala na. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I really want to make more videos. And yeah, aside from that, I'll see you guys on my next vlog. Bye!